Okay, good evening. Let's call the November meeting of the Falls Township Planning Commission to order. Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Leszczuk, can you call the roll, please?
John Haney is absent. Colin Henderson is absent. Brian Binney.
Present.
Mary Leszczuk is present. Daniel Everett.
Present.
David Coyne.
Present.
Paul Hartzel.
Present.
Jesse O'Brien.
Present. Okay. The first two items on our agenda have been asked to be tabled, so is there a motion to table the first two agenda items?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on to item number 3, 9169 Mill Creek Road, Marsville, PA, tax parcel 13-040-023 and 13-040-022, zoned LI. It's a preliminary and final land development for a 2,173 square foot repair shop storage yard and a proposed 1,052 square foot restaurant addition.
Hi, good evening. Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of the applicant. I have Mr. Dumack with me to my right, who prepared the plan, which is before the Planning Commission for consideration this evening. As Mr. Binney stated, the subject property is 9169 Mill Creek Road in the township. It consists of two tax parcel numbers, 13-40-23 and 13-40-22. It is zoned light industrial. As the commission is likely aware, the property is the home to the Mill Creek Inn, along with a few other uses. Particularly germane to the conversation tonight is an automotive repair shop. And Mr. Hackett is here, and he'll address why we're seeking the approval for the addition of 2,100 square feet on site in association with that use. I believe the last time this was in front of the township was over a decade ago, sometime around 2009. Certain improvements were proposed that were never constructed. There were other improvements that were made that Mr. Dumack can speak to more at length, such as parking, paving, septic improvements to help improve the functionality of the site. We're really looking, in particular, with respect to the restaurant, the addition that we're proposing, which is approximately 1,000 square feet along the frontage of the property, is very similar to what was proposed back almost 13 years ago. We're looking to move forward at this time with the construction of the restaurant addition in conjunction, as I noted, with the construction of the addition for the automotive repair shop that is approximately 2,173 square feet. We're, again, aware that there are some other uses on the site, more towards the rear, that are not primarily being impacted, but some of which will be improved for the better, which Mr. Hackett will detail. Really, the outgrowth of the repair shop is going to alleviate some of the burden to the rear of the property, and again, we'll get into that in a second. We are well under the performance standards from a dimensional standpoint, from a zoning standpoint. Impervious coverage is not being exacerbated with this. The building coverage numbers we are compliant with, and everything else we are honoring. Even though the construction of the restaurant is to the front of the property, we are not exacerbating the non-conforming condition with respect to the front yard setback. I know that was a comment in the County Planning Commission notes, so I did want to state that at the outset. The rest of the site, again, is not impacted with the application, and the majority of the waivers that we are requesting tonight are, I think, very straightforward and common for uses like this throughout the township. So what I would suggest, if it's okay with the Planning Commission, is I'll have Mr. Dumack walk through the site plan. I'll have Mr. Hackett come up and introduce himself and discuss the need for the automotive repair expansion at the site, and then we can handle the waiver requests and answer any questions the Planning Commission might have about this application.
Proceed.
Good evening. Heath Dumack, Dumack Engineering. I'm going to shift the image to the second page as more of a close-up of the site itself. That's in process for development. The Mill Creek Inn is along the frontage of the street. We have the existing automotive repair use. I'll call it about midway back from the street. The proposed additions that we are looking to do, one will be slightly offset and tied in with the existing repair use. The Mill Creek Inn addition is being proposed in this corner. It is slightly less in size than what was originally designed and approved of back in 2009, 2010. This addition was slightly bigger, and then they had a small addition here towards the rear of the existing building. As part of the improvements from the 2009, 2010, was a paved parking area, additional parking towards the rear, and then a whole updated, brand-new septic system, which I believe is in this region and here, which was designed by Del Val Soil and constructed. So what we are here for this evening are these two building additions, along with the expansion of the automotive repair use.
And Rich, if you don't mind, come up. We can tag the waivers.
Good evening, folks. I'm Richard Hackett with Hackett's Towing. So basically what we're looking to do off to the side with the automotive and repair is expand the shop to get some of these containers out of there, some of the trucks and automobiles and stuff that we have tools-wise that are stored in those containers. We want to try and bring them inside so that we can clean up that front property just a little bit.
So is it fair to say that I'm sorry, this isn't for you, Mr. Hackett. Sorry, this is not for you. Is it fair to say the containers are on the septic system right now?
What? I apologize.
That the containers on the septic.
According to the aerial view, that's what it looks like.
Please use the microphone.
I'd have to take a look, but quite possibly, yes.
Then,
So in regards to the septic system, with the planned addition, I know you said it was upgraded. Was that upgrade, does it meet the standard set here in the Jones Engineering letter dated November 21st? Page 4, section 191-67, in regards to providing verification from the Bucks County Board of Health that the existing system is adequate to serve the proposed building additions?
So what I can say, and he can expand upon this, is we are, Mr. Dumack is in correspondence and communication with the Board of Health as part of this application. And he's referencing
Oh, the Jones Engineering.
the Jones Engineering
Got it.
comment regarding confirmation of adequacy, essentially, with respect to the septic system at comment 191-67 on page 4.
That is a will comply. What I can tell you is the septic that was installed was designed.
Keith, could you please use the microphone?
What I can tell you is that the septic that was designed and installed back in 2009, 2010 was sized for these two additions that were never constructed on the original Mill Creek Inn. We would have to take a look and see what the proposed consumption would be for the automotive repair use. However, based solely on comparison, since we're not expanding the Mill Creek Inn as fully as it was originally designed, my opinion would be yes, the system should be adequate, but we'll make sure it is before it gets to supervisors.
And you are in communication or have initiated correspondence with the Board of Health regarding the application?
Yes, sir.
And are there any proposed facilities in the new addition for the garage, or are they going to maintain the existing?
Maintain the existing.
So
No alterations.
no alterations to, okay, thank you. If you'd like to proceed with the review, comments or waivers?
So Heath, you and I can
Sure.
tag team this. So all of the zoning comments are will complies We have, if we turn to page 2 of the Jones Engineering Review Letter, the first comment is a will comply. The comment at 191-31A and 191-62 are waiver requests. We are requesting a waiver to not widen the cartway width from 26 feet approximately to 32 feet at 31A. And then there is a request to not require installation of curbing based upon the site dynamics and the lack of curbing in general. That also follows on the next page with 191-36D regarding curbing along the driveway. And Heath, I don't know if you want to touch on that from an internal standpoint, but it's just a general waiver for internal curbing to be omitted, correct?
That is correct.
Along with a waiver from 191-37B regarding open space. There's a requirement of 15 feet of parking open space being provided, and we're essentially asking for existing site conditions to remain the same other than the additions that are being proposed to both structures on site. We have a waiver request further down on page 3 at 191-39, 191-61 relating to sidewalks, similar reasoning to the curbing waiver request, 191-48 in terms of street trees, and then I believe everything else is a will comply until we get to the last comment, which is a waiver request from 191-80C1 relating to the plan scale with what's been submitted to the township. And Heath, if you think anything else. But everything else is a will comply.
Correct.
So, would state again what I said at the beginning. I know there's a number of, I'll call improvements/uses at the site. I would suggest that the improvements which are being proposed are either A, improvements which have been envisioned previously by the township and blessed in some form or fashion, or improvements, as Mr. Hackett stated, which should actually improve some of the functionality on site, and the waivers that we're requesting in association with the application are relatively standard and straightforward waivers given a site of this composition. The septic comment, again, is one that's been acknowledged, that Heath has noted was previously envisioned for the restaurant addition, and is something that, of course, we will comply with, will have to comply with as part of the remainder of the process.
According to the aerial picture and according to your prints right there, it's showing that there's like this big parking area in the back, but according to the aerial shot, it looks like there's just a bunch of containers and stuff on it. That's not parking. I'm kind of confused. What is that?
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can zoom in. No.
I think, Ms. Leszczuk, you're asking that Mr. Dumac's plan depicts striped parking, and if you look at the aerial, you can see that
You're looking in this.
there's a...
That's clear, not parking.
Are a lot of these,
Is there enough parking to accommodate the new amount of people that will have access to, the restaurant at one time?
So, again, I'm not, in terms of the history here, my understanding is the rear of the site has historically had I'm going to phrase it, a complicated history regarding a number of uses. I don't know how long the site has been situated that way. I'm not here saying we're going to, to be, again, very candid with the Planning Commission. We're not here saying that we're eliminating the variety of trailers in full to the rear of the site. Mr. Hackett's noted that some of the trailers associated with the automotive operation will be eliminated as part of the addition. I think from a...
Maybe I have a better answer.
Sure, go for it.
The parking layout that we presented as part of the land development was part of the original land development back in 2009, 2010. The way
Envisioning the expansion.
Correct, which never occurred. My position on this would be that if this is approved, that secondary parking area would have to be cleared as part of the land development and the construction. So at that point, the other uses would have to be relocated
Repositioned.
accordingly.
We're not aware of a shortfall in parking, I guess is the short answer to the question.
Hey, I like Mill Creek. I go to Mill Creek. I don't want you to take away my parking spots. I'm just saying. I like the front ones.
Is there any other questions from the board? Does anyone in the public wish to speak for or against? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend preliminary and final land development application for 9169 Mill Creek Road, TMP number 13-040-023, TMP-040-022. Let's see. Based on the Jens Engineering Associates letter dated November 21, 2023, and the Remington Vernix Engineering letter dated October 17, 2023. I don't think there's anything else. With waivers of, let's see, with waivers of 191-31A, 191-62, 191-36D, 191-37B, 191-19, is that the next one? 191-39 and 191-61,
Yes, 3-9, correct.
191-48, I think there was one more, and 191-80C1. I will say that there is a condition, though, when it comes to the, once again, this aerial view is showing things that are very different from your print. As long as we can try and make some of these accommodations when it comes to, you're taking away a couple of parking spots, handicap, things like that, you know, just try and make accommodations for handicap, things like that. And then seeing as how, according to the aerial view, there are containers on what is you consider the septic, those need to be moved. You can't just have containers on top of the septic area, please. Let's see. And once again, as long as you continue to have talks with Jones Engineering and comply with any septic possibilities that need to be, you know, anything that needs to be worked out there. Those are my only conditions. All right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Poll the board, please.
Oh dear, hold on. Let's see, Brian Binney,
Yes.
Mary Leszczuk, yes. Daniel Everett,
Yes.
David Coyne,
Yes.
Paul Hartzel is abstaining. Jesse O'Brien,
Yes.
Thank you very much.
congratulations, gentlemen.
Thanks.
All right, the next item on our agenda is Cosmos, 980 Trenton Road, Fairless Hills, PA, tax parcel 13-017, 13-017-300, 13-017-203, and 13-017-303-001. And this is a sketch plan for a proposed building addition.
All right, good evening, Mike McGinnis again from Begley Carlin, here on behalf of the applicant. I have Nicole Ficaris, which I've been Practicing, thank you. With Mr. Dumack as well. Nicole's one of the owners of the subject property, which is located at 980 Trenton Road in the township. As you can see, if you look closely on the site plan, this is actually multiple parcels, 3 different parcels, which are sort of bisected by a paper road, which we can get to in a second. My clients purchased the property, I think, over a decade ago at this point now. Yeah. 2 decades ago almost, and I think it was going through the condemnation process at the time. It's best known, I think, anecdotally as the home of Cosmos, although there's multiple other business operations, which we'll touch on in a second. I do want to state at the outset that this application has nothing to do with an expansion of the restaurant, so there's no alterations that are proposed with respect to Cosmos operation. That is going to remain unchanged. This is a sketch plan, as you've noted. We're basically here to get some feedback. We wanted some confirmation from Mr. Jones' team from a zoning standpoint, and then before we submitted from land development, take any consideration that the Planning Commission might have, discussions perhaps regarding the paper street, consolidation, any design thoughts. We're looking to do an approximately 3,000 square foot addition to the site in the area depicted that Heath is highlighting right now. The primary reason is, I think it was a couple months ago, Action Karate moved an operation into the site, and we're looking to relocate Action Karate into the expanded 3,000 square feet. That will allow Dance Studio, which is on site, to take up and expand their operations in part to the area that's being vacated by Action Karate. We're willing to, I think it was suggested in the Jones review letter, to vacate the paper street as part of the development submission. We're certainly willing to do that, and of course we're benefited here by the fact that we own all parcels surrounding the paper street, so we wouldn't need the consent of anyone else. We could just submit that. I think it kind of makes sense. If you look at an aerial of the site, it looks like it's all one parcel. In reality, you basically have the building on one parcel, and then you have the parking on the adjacent parcel split by the paper street. So it's something that I don't think we need to consolidate, but we can consolidate. We don't need to. It's really up to the township if they have a strong preference as part of the process. But otherwise, I think it's a fairly straightforward application from a design standpoint. I'd like to have Nicole just address the board and explain what's going on, and he can do a very quick discussion about the site plan, which is before you, and happy to take any feedback into consideration before we move forward. Thank you.
Hello. Nicole Ficaris, 980 Property Management in Cosmos. When our third tenant space became vacant, Action Karate actually came to us, and they've been wanting to move into Fairless Hills in Levittown for a while. Seeing the space right now, I think that tenant space is about 1,400 square feet, which is nice for a startup to get them going, but they would ideally like 3,000. So while we were in talks with Action Karate with getting them into that space, our dance studio, which is Eileen's Academy of Dance, they've been there. They opened before we did in 2006. She's doing great as well, and she said, you know, I would also like a little more space. So we kind of thought it was a no-brainer if we can expand to that 3,000 square feet, move the dance studio into the space that Action Karate's currently in, and have a lot of nice, great businesses in our little area. I don't know if there's any other questions. Thank you.
Talking about the engineering for the site briefly. The site itself, as you know, consists of the primary building and a large parking field. What we are proposing, along with, I apologize, 2 frontages, what we are proposing is to do the building addition, and as part of stormwater management meeting with the Jones team, the suggestion was to come up with a rain garden, which we've tentatively sized and located here. There will be buffer plantings along the residential interface. Our impervious surface does go down. Currently, we're at approximately 93%, and with the addition, the building addition and the rain garden brings it down to 91%. Everything else realistically will stay the same. The addition is going to match the existing style, so there will be a front porch or covered area adjacent to the frontage of the building with steps to access the porch and subsequently the different tenant spaces. Anything specific that the board might have in questions?
I think that it absolutely makes sense to combine all the lots and to remove the paper street. Maybe from the township's point of view, the applicant's been using a paper street and not paying taxes on it for a decade. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is probably, as a matter of law, the paper street's probably already sort of escheated to the benefit of the property owners, but it's always something we'd rather clean up, technically speaking. So I think it makes sense as well. And then I would imagine from the township's perspective, to avoid any confusion at a later date, if something crazy happened and someone wanted to sell one of the parcels and it's a weird situation from a parking standpoint and then a use standpoint, having it all potentially consolidated, eliminates that and probably makes any sale at a later date simpler, probably on the Ficaris's end as well.
I agree. I do have some minor concern about the parking, and I know based on your calculations, you're using a shopping center per square foot, but in reality, a shopping center envisions a store with aisles and product, and what we're proposing is to add a karate studio that's wide open spaces with a bunch of kids in it, and the same thing with the dance studio. So I have some concern about what impact it will have on the neighborhood and people parking their cars along the streets in the neighborhood. That is a busy parking lot. It always has been. So I do have a little bit of concern about that.
Just a note on the, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, the feedback both from the client and in discussions with Jones Engineering, the uses are complementary. The primary hit for the restaurant is not the
Can you use the
same.
microphone, please?
Sorry, I kind of figure I can project, but it's been a long day.
Doesn't accommodate that too well.
The commentary realistically is that it's a complementary use, that the restaurant use itself, its primary impact or usage varies and is different than the dance studio and ultimately the karate. So realistically, you're not going to see 30 or 40 cars parked there all waiting for dance. They tend to do a drop off and leave, similar for karate. It's odd and unusual.
I've seen some parents there drop off their kids and go to the bar.
That sounds like a better use.
I tend-
But then the
I won't
parking's fine
disagree.
because it's just one car for the two uses, Brian, instead of two cars.
But that would be my concern if there was, I know parents like to watch their kids,
Yeah.
that perform in the dance studio and also the karate, so
Yeah, we can take a
it
look
is,
at that.
I think it's a legitimate concern, so. Any other questions from the board, comments? Doug? you have
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a quick one on the Dumac engineering letter regarding 191-48B, the 4 proposed street trees instead of the 13. Just for a note, as you go through the design, if possible, looks to be 25 feet of setback from Virgo Road. And hoping maybe if you can't do the trees, we can do some sort of screening shrub, something like that, just to kind of really separate the street from the retail area.
Add a little more buffering, vegetative buffer.
I'm sorry.
We can add a little bit more vegetative buffer.
That'd be great.
We'll see what we can do.
Doug, you have anything? Any other comments? All right, this is a sketch plan, so it doesn't require any official action on our part. So, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate sketch plans all the time.
Yep, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, you too. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes from September 26th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for September 26th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do anybody want to stay?
No.